Hi, folks. It's another one of them Dawson's Cracks. Now, if you haven't figured out what Dawson's Crack is yet by now, it is the Dawson's Creek rewatch, first time watch, podcast, carcast. Why am I always in my car? My house is too loud. It's complicated. Anyway, here we go again. We're on episode 4 this time of the season. Episode 3 of Us Dawson's Crack, because we don't count episode 0. So, what did we already learn? Well, Tamara and Pacey finally full on hit the scene, and now they're together as a unit. Pacey's getting molested, in my opinion. Dawson doesn't know about his mom's affair, and Joey does, and him and Jen are now a unit. That covers pretty much all the bases. Now we're going to hit a pretty heavy episode, I think, in my opinion. Last time a lot went on in episode 3, but I think episode 4 is heating up even a little bit more than episode 3, so we'll see how we feel after the end of it. All right, now we start episode off the same way we always started off, with a brief synopsis. We're getting it yet again from Television of Yore, and we're going to go with Dawson sees his mother smooching her co-worker, Bob, and then gets all judgy about Jen's scandalous past. Tamara continues her repugnant May-December fling with Pacey. Woohoo, spicy, spicy. Okay, so we open up as our usual spot is in Dawson's bedroom, yet again, as always. And he's watching Jen on his TV, on his video, right? Yet again, he's got a piece of, editing equipment in front of him. It's like a deck with dials that's used to speed up and rewind the tape. And it's not a cheap piece of hardware, yet again. All of his camera equipment is very expensive. I'm hoping he gets it from the school or something. They really don't explain it. Maybe because he's in the AV club or whatever, or now he's in the film class, he can use their stuff. They really don't explain it, but it doesn't really matter. So Joey's in the room, Dawson's in the room, we're watching Jen on the TV, and Dawson says, look at how perfect she looks, right? And we're going to do another brief dialogue thing. We're not going to get too hung up on the dialogue, because we already know it's going to be overblown, it's going to be overwrought. Doesn't make any sense in these kids' mouths, but there is a funny aspect here. So Joey's pissed off at watching Dawson watch Jen, and she says, granted, this girl has certain physical attributes, but nothing so original or mysterious to warrant perfection. Dawson, of course, is like, ugh, and gets mad at her. She says, a face like that leaves nothing to the imagination. The well-maintained good looks of an upper-middle-class New Yorker. There's no mystery there. I can see her entire future in her face. Dawson responds with, really? And she says, in 3 years, her above-average SAT scores will grant her admission into a small liberal arts college somewhere in New England, where she majors in art history before returning to Manhattan to marry a bond trader she meets some Saturday afternoon at an American Cups watching party. Within a year, they move to the suburbs of Connecticut, refurbish an old farmhouse, and raise 3 neurotic, perfect children. Dawson, of course, is like, well, you put a lot of thought into this. And she says, not really, it's just so obvious. Well, I mean, and then they keep going, and then they discover the B-roll that is, of course, scandalous. That's when Dawson puts in the B-roll, and this is a weird line, too. They're watching the tape. There's 2 people making out on the screen, right? And they see a female facing them and the back of someone's head. And Joey says, I know your cinematic influences are still evolving, but I never anticipated you having a Russ Meyer phase, right? Who's Russ Meyer? Russ Meyer, of course, is a very old-timey director who did a bunch of, sexploitation type movies, like Faster Pussycat, Kill, Kill, Kill. Dude, why would either one of them watch that director? You know what I mean? The dude, it's just weird that they would even bring that up. You know what I mean? None of his movies are stuff that she would have watched or brought up. It's just weird. Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, and it's all, yet again, it's 60s, 70s movies, 50s movies. It's never modern cinema to them. That's what's always funny. I don't know. I just thought that was a weird, wacky line, and I think it's something to point out. And it's just kind of one of those weird things that just seems to be popping up over and over and over. Dawson claims he never shot this, and he says he must have left the camera running when they ran away. Of course, we remember from last episode, they were in this weird Grecian estate villa thing that he was trying to create this cinematic universe so that he could kiss Jen. And then in the process, a dude showed up, he ran off, the camera was pointed at Tamara and Pacey. So this is the back of Pacey's head and the front of Tamara that they're seeing right now. And that's when he says, I must have left the camera running. She says, I don't know, there's a certain quality about this, she's just kicking it off and starting shit with him. That's when Dawson says, try brushing her hair out of her eyes and putting her behind a big school desk. And they both come to the conclusion, oh my God, that's Miss Jacob. And who's that guy? Well, we don't know. Then we get the opening song, and unfortunately, Tubi no longer has Dawson's Creek on it, so we had to switch to Hulu, and Hulu plays the Run Like Mad song, which is not as good as the I Don't Want to Wait opener, of course. So we hit the opener, and then we get to our next scene. Next scene, we're at the Ice House restaurant. Dawson and Joey and Pacey are all hanging out with Jen, and they're talking about the infamous Tamara's sex footage. Of course, Pacey gets creeped out. He's worried. He says, can you see the person's face? He says, I know she was saving herself for you, but I'm sorry. She's clearly into somebody else, and no, you can't see the face. He immediately wants to see the tape. He's super creepy about it, it sounds like, but really he's just super nervous that everybody's going to know the situation. And he keeps trying to finagle the tape away from Dawson. Dawson's not having it. Now we cut to Dawson and Jen walking home hand in hand. He goes in for a kiss out front, and then you see Graham nosing around the back, peeking out through the window. They smooch in front of the window, and of course, Jen tries to tell him to cool it in front of her grandma, and Dawson goes in for a smooch anyway. Then she walks in, immediately gets confronted by her grandmother, saying, you do these things to upset me on purpose. This is when Jen tries to defend herself against her grandmother, and of course her grandmother yet again brings up her slutty behavior in New York. You still don't exactly know what happened, you just know that it's like something, and she says, you know, Grams, it was only a kiss, it's nothing bad. Now moving right along, we're into Dawson's bedroom again. And there's so many things that happen in Dawson's bed. Dawson's bedroom is one of the craziest sets. It's just continuously everything's always happening in Dawson's bedroom. And now you have Dawson enters his bedroom. Pacey's already in there. And this is another one of those things where it's like, dude, everybody comes and goes. I know. I remember the early 2000s. People came and went in people's houses and stuff. It was a lot more free flow and a lot more open and whatever. But it's like, dude, no security ever. There's no locked doors in this world. Pacey's in there. Joey's in there. The window's always open. The ladder's there. The front door's open. Everybody's in and out all the time. It's crazy. So Dawson yells at Pacey for messing up his tapes. He says, you're ruining my dailies, which I think is a funny thing because it's like, dude, you have dailies. Get out of here. What are you doing? And, he's like, dude, you want to see the sex tape so bad you're willing to mess up all my stuff? And in this moment, Pacey has to confess to somebody. So he straight up tells Dawson, hey, listen, I know everybody thinks I'm a loser and thinks my family's a bunch of garbage, but I finally got the girl this time. Of course, he doesn't want the tape getting out because he doesn't want anyone to know that that was his first sexual encounter. And also, he's 15 and Tamara's a full-grown woman teacher who should not be molesting him, right? Because yikes. So he doesn't want it to end Tamara's career. He doesn't want to embarrass him. He's doing all that stuff to prevent anyone from knowing what's going on and that she's banging a 15-year-old. And then Pacey has like a weird exchange with Dawson where he says, how's my performance? Right? Which I think is kind of ew. It's kind of icky, but whatever. Now we go back to Dawson and Joey. They're downtown in Cape Side trying to pick out an anniversary present for his parents. Earlier in the show, they discussed the fact that they're on their 20-year anniversary, and Joey makes a snide comment about it, and he says, what do you want? What do you think they'd want for presents? And she says separate vacations, which I thought was kind of a cute line. So now they're looking for a present for them. That's when they accidentally run into Dawson's mother with Bob, the news anchor Bob. She's trying to fix his jacket. Bob introduced himself, and they try to play it off like nothing's going on and have a little chit chat, and it obviously doesn't go well. After that little scene where Bob tries to be nice to Dawson, we go back to Jen and Graham having it out yet again. She tells Grams that she's going out to see Dawson tonight. Grams, of course, is disgusted and appalled by the whole thing. She brings up the fact that Joey continuously climbs in and out his window, and Jen has to defend herself, saying they're just friends and nothing's going on between the two of them. We cut up again to Pacey and Tamara. This time they're at an open-air cafe, sitting outdoors, which they shouldn't be doing anyway, and trying to discuss what they're going to do for a book. Pacey tries to bring up how there's not enough sexy books that they're reading, or like books that have realistic sex in it. And it's like, dude, you're 15 in high school. You should see what happens in 2025, dude. It's crazy. You think it's bad then. Look at what's going on now. Jesus. So they have a little discussion. He tries to lean over and grab her hand. She's like, nope, we can't do that in public. Which, like, yeah, you can't do it in public. It is a felony. She's absolutely right. But also, like, stop going out in general. You already went too far. The bell can't be unrung. But also, you're still going to cafes and stuff. And then her justification of this is like, well, I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea by you holding my hand. Probably there's more wrong ideas that you shouldn't have had. I'm just saying. Then we cut back to Dawson and Jen. Now they're fucking around with the Swamp Thing movie again. He's still on the Swamp Thing creature thing. They're doing editing. They're talking about it. Jen's saying how good a movie it looks and how everything's going cool. And then he starts bringing up censors and how back in the day, you know, actors had to keep one foot on the ground and everything. And she basically tries to tell Dawson, like, dude, there's time. We'll get there. We don't have to move, you know, too quick. Like, you need to chill. Now you cut to them in the news station. They're in the control room trying to do an overdub of Jen screaming for his Swamp movie, right? Which it's like, dude, your movie has ADR. Like, that's crazy that your movie has ADR, but whatever. So they're trying to get the scream right. She's struggling with it. You know, it is what it is. That's when Dawson tells her to take a break. He's going to go to the vending machine, grab her a Diet Coke. While he's in the process, he inadvertently runs into Bob and his mom kissing. So now, you know, Dawson is horrified. He cannot believe that his puritanical mother is, you know, has female agency and obviously is messing around on his dad, who is supposedly this great hunk that everybody thinks is hot as hell, which you know, all he ever talks about is this aquatic restaurant or whatever, which I'm like, dude, he doesn't seem like a catch to me, but maybe that's just me. So, you know, of course, this sends a shockwave through the entire world of Dawson's mind, and now he has to deal with that. You get, in my opinion, one of the weirdest, funniest, saddest scenes in the episode, this particular episode. Jen is just sitting there trying to comfort Dawson, and Dawson is just like completely shell-shocked on their favorite dock that they always seem to be hanging out on. Just cannot believe that he witnessed the horror that is Bob kissing his mom. Like, you know, it's like he saw like a full-blown murder in front of himself. It's just, his expression is crazy. It's so fucking weird and funny and sad. Jen tries to reach out in this moment, and she tries to say, like, hey, I know that's our relationship has never been like this deep, but like, if you need me to comfort you, I'm here for you. Like, just tell me what to do. And then he immediately runs off and goes to Joey. This is where he goes to Joey and basically tells her what he saw. Joey, instead of just lying about it, like, I give her some credit in a way, but it's like, dude, you already lied about it. So like, or like lied by omission. So like, maybe just keep your mouth shut, right? He has to find out that she already knew like 2 episodes ago that they were fooling around. And obviously she's the one who confronted Dawson's mom about it, was like, dude, you're going to hurt the whole family by doing this. My dad was a piece of shit and did this all the time. And of course, Dawson, instead of like realizing that Joey was just trying to be a friend to him and not make him feel shitty about the situation and not be the bearer of bad news, he immediately blames her, says he's going to be out of the, you know, the friendship is over. Their crazy long friendship is now completely over because Dawson is super dramatic and takes off. This time we see Pacey and Tamara again together, and this time she's downtown with another guy. That's when him and Jen decide to take off, and of course he unburdens his soul about the horror that he saw of Bob and Mom together, and he's super hurt about the situation. Jen's also heard about the situation, though, because he ran off to Joey instead of talking to her, so she feels that, you know, he should have talked to her instead of running over to Joey, and that she doesn't want any secrets between the two of them. And this is when she makes, like, a strange choice that I'm not sure if it's the right or the wrong move here. Because they said no more secrets, Jen decides to unburden her soul, and you finally find out what happened in New York. Apparently, not only is Jen not a virgin, but while she was in New York, she was running fast and loose, and she was hooking up with people left and right, doing some drinking, having some fun. And it's like, so she got shipped to Cape Town. not at all to do with her grandfather, which I always kind of suspected anyway. In the beginning, you kind of suspect that because like the grandfather appears to be in a fucking coma, which I do not think he should be home alone at the house. I mean, obviously the Gram is an ex-nurse, so she can take care of it. But it's like, dude, the dude needs more care than you can give him in that house, I think. He literally never moves. I don't think in the entire season he ever moves, and I'm assuming that's going to continue through the entire consistency of the show, that he is just never going to wake up, right? So obviously Jen wasn't shipped there to help at all. She was shipped there specifically to get her away from New York so that her parents couldn't have to deal with her and, you know, get away from her slutty influences and whatever. And that's why she wants to take everything slow and be chill, right? And in this moment, you would think a very mature Dawson would understand that, one, she's obviously a changed person, and two, like, she wants to take it slow because she doesn't want to be that person anymore, right? Is that how Dawson handles it? No, he handles it like his usual self, which is being a complete dick about it. And it's like, bro, come on now. Also, yet again, it's a weird thing with the age gap thing. I'm going to point it out 100 million times over and over and over. If she's supposed to be 15, she lived in New York, right? She probably was like running the streets, if at bare minimum, for like a year, 2 years, maybe more, maybe less, don't know, at least a year, right? And they catch her having sex in her parents' room, I think is what I remember correctly. I might have that wrong, but they definitely walk in on her like in a sex act in the parents' house, right? And if she's supposed to be 15, Dawson's supposed to be 15, she's already had a wild ride where she was smoking, drinking, hooking up with people in New York and started young. Like, that means she was like 12, 13 when she was just hitting the streets. Not saying it couldn't happen. Happens all the time. It's just really like one of those things where if you think of the age gap, it's crazy to think that, you know, she's supposed to be like who she's supposed to be, but whatever. Next day after that little outburst, we go back to Pacey, and he's in school now. He runs into Tamara's classroom, and he starts being a complete big dick about the fact that she had the gall to go out with another man that wasn't him. And I use the term man loosely because he is a child, right? And she is seeing another adult man, theoretically, right? But that's when you find out, nope, Mr. Teacher friend is, one, just a friend, and two, he's obviously gay, so she's not hooking up with anybody. This is when also this scene is really super, super weird because you have this moment where Pacey comes in. He confronts Tamara in her office, in school, like in her classroom, in school, right? Yet again, he's supposed to be 15. He's like, I can't believe you're flirting with another dude. I have the right to know what's going on. Like, was he better than me? All this stuff. And I'm like, dude, one, chill out, dude. Chill out. Two, I cannot believe you have the gall to confront. I can't even imagine a 15-year-old me confronting a grown woman to this degree in her job. You know what I mean? Like, I was a terrible 15-year-old, so I could get it. I could see this. But it's like, dude, you are yet again out of line, dude. She is wrong. You are wrong. You both are wrong. Obviously, you're the more immature one because you're 15 and you're not supposed to know better. But, like, you are crossing boundaries yet again, my man. We cut back to Jen and Dawson. She tries to confront him and say, hey, do you think this is okay? I'm sorry I told you all this stuff. He says, no, I'm totally cool with it. Everything's fine. And then he just takes off. So Dawson, yet again, in my opinion, does something a little shady. He goes to Pacey and he starts complaining about Jen having the gall to have a past, right? And I hate to give it to Pacey on this one. Pacey, strangely, is one of the few people in this whole collection of asswipes who actually gives like a reasonable, somewhat reasonable response to what's going on. And he basically says, like, dude, Dawson, you need to chill. This is not like that big of a deal. His advice, however, isn't perfect because Pacey also puts it out there that he's basically saying, like, dude, you should embrace the fact that your girlfriend's a little on the loose side, which means, like, you got the go-ahead, which not okay. That, for a second there, you thought, oh, maybe Pacey was going to be a reasonable human being, but no, he's just his usual self, as usual. That's when we see Dawson's dad and mom. Dawson walks in. His dad's getting ready to go on their 20th anniversary dinner thing. Dawson tries to confront him and tell him what's going on. He does that usual thing where he just doesn't even notice that Dawson's distressed. She comes in before he can blow her in, and they take off together. That's when you get one of the few rare scenes at this point Next is where Joey is working at the Ice House. Jen stops into the Ice House being the restaurant that Joey works at, that her brother-in-law, quasi-brother-in-law, seems to run and or own. And Jen tries to ask, yo, what am I supposed to do? Dawson seems so hung up on the fact that I'm no longer a virgin. That's when Joey has to explain in graphic detail how Dawson just doesn't understand real life. He sees everything in black and white movies. He doesn't understand what's going on, and he's freaked out because he's inexperienced, and this just threw him a curve. So it's like you get the one time where Joey's actually nice to Jen and actually like gets it done and teaches her like everything's okay. And that's kind of a cute scene, and it's just very rare in the show because usually Joey's being a piece of shit to everybody. So it's kind of a nice little reprieve from that. We go back to Pacey and Tamara again. Now they're sitting on a bed together. He's reading a magazine. She's grading papers. They're having a little discussion about like her sex history. And she basically says, yeah, she hooked up with a couple of guys in a high schooler and not when she was in high school. And I don't know. I still get the Willies. Their relationship I do not like. I find it very off-putting. I don't know if I'm supposed to do that or if they're trying to like soften the blow or what. Every time I see them together on screen, I'm visibly creeped out by her actions. I do not like Pacey's attitude. He is way too aggressive for his age. I just don't like their vibe. Their vibe is bad. That's when you get another one of those weird scenes where Jen is talking to her obviously comatose grandfather about the fact that Dawson wrote her off for being a slut. And it's like, dude, he is in a coma and he is in their house. I am deeply worried for that man's safety because I get the feeling that they just leave him alone in there. I don't know, dude, because there's a couple different scenes where they like walk in and the grandfather is just laying there and either Jen's in the room just like hanging out with his lifeless corpse or the grandmother's in the like gone and he's just alone in the room. And I'm just like, dude, they don't have any of the security that a hospital would have. You know what I mean? They don't have heart monitors. They don't have a ripcord. He doesn't seem to be able to do I don't know if he can respond to anything. They really don't go into graphic detail. They keep saying it has to do with his heart attack, but like a heart attack does not put you in a coma. So I really don't know what his problem is. He just appears to be laying up. Maybe I missed it. I don't know. And now we come to the end of the episode, and basically the last scene is Joey and Dawson talking next to his house by the creek, and the whole discussion is essentially Joey trying to explain to him that, dude, you're not really mad at her, you're mad at the world because, you know, your mom and everybody else, and he tries to say no, and they make up this fictional scenario about them going to a wedding and the subtext and all this blah, 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 and then it ends with the weird line of straight to the Smithsonian because she's talking about, you know, how Dawson looks at everybody through a glass case. And that's the finale. Not super exciting end to this whole endeavor and not super satisfying, but it still gets a lot of plot going on. It's still a pretty meaty episode for what it is. And next episode is going to be one of my favorite episodes so far of the season. It is episode 5 of Dawson's Creek, a la episode 4 of Dawson's Crack, and it's going to be the hurricane episode. That's right, a hurricane comes to Cape Side, and all hell breaks loose. It's going to be a good episode. I liked it. It was fun. So what did we learn in this episode? 1, Tamara cannot stop molesting Pacey. 2, Pacey continues to be Pacey, basically. And now he's worried that, you know, the secret's out because Dawson knows about it. Potentially Joey has a theory about it. We also find out that Dawson now knows that Bob and his mom are sleeping together at work. Dawson's dad is still in the dark, though. Jen reveals the big ticket item of what's been going on up until this point, why she's here from New York and what actually happened in New York. And of course, we'll see if Dawson and Jen's relationship can survive, finding out that Jen is not the virgin she claims to be. I think personally Dawson should fuck off and just deal with it. He is way too judgy. It's crazy. He's obviously with Joey all the time, and she lets that slide. He needs to cool it. Joey, of course, is still struggling with her feelings about Dawson and being the person she is and how everything works out in her life. And it's a pretty good meaty episode. And now we see the hurricane coming to Cape Side.